Okay, very good.
Do you want to call the meeting to order?
I would like to do that. Thank you, Ramsey. I'll call the meeting to order. Mr. Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Member Dreyer,
Here.
Whitaker,
Here.
Goodman,
Here.
DeVecchio, Robertson,
Here.
Ludwig.
Here.
Let me just check the page. John Page just joined us. So if I could have, which he said he was going to be late, right? If you could let John in. Give John a few seconds. We can. Hey, John.
Hello.
Just go and roll.
Hi, John.
Perfect timing. Page.
Here.
Thank you, John. Absent is Delvecchio, and we'll keep our eyes open for him. See if he joins us.
Okay, very good. May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Jerry, I believe we're all set with the agenda. I have no other amendments.
Okay. Motion to approve?
I'll move.
All right. All right. Amanda moves, David seconds. Thank you all. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Diana?
Aye.
Okay. Approval of the minutes. Have you all received the minutes and had time to look through them? I have a few, page 10, line 20. It starts out "we're more," and I think it should be "what's more." What's apostrophe S. And then on page 23, line 21 and 24, it says moisture. And I believe it should be moisture, M-O-I-S-T-U-R-E. Page 46, line 6. Glass would be runt. I think run. Now, runt is an appropriate word if you live in Virginia. And something doesn't go well, it's runt. But I think the word here is run. Page 46, line 24, line 22, it says sticking. Not sure what that means. Anyone else catch that? And page 61, line 4, minor grammatical thing, it says you are, and it should be, it's U apostrophe R-E, and it should be Y-O-U-R. Anyone else?
I just had two additional notes. Page 54. I'm not sure if we know what this says, but it says, and then it's line 10, and then the addition that is the entry, and the canopy over the entry is also a very slight slope that is dying into the steeper slope. I don't think dying is the right word there, but I don't recall
I
what.
think maybe it is.
Is it? Oh, okay. Okay.
John, when something,
That's okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
The only other one I had was page 69, line 23, and destination should be designation. And same error, page 71, line 25. It says destination and it should be designation.
Okay, anyone else? Motion to approve as corrected.
I will make the motion.
Thanks, John.
Page,
Second, please.
I'll second, Jerry.
Thanks, Wayne.
Goodman,
All in favor?
Aye.
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 motion passes.
Okay, thank you all. Was this meeting duly advertised, Ramsey?
Yes, it was properly advertised in the Brighton Pittsford Post of November 5th, 2020.
Well, that meeting, as duly advertised, will now be held. John's here, so we can start with the order. First item, 10H, Certificate of Appropriateness. 10H-01-20, application of Robert Burke Jr. and Cheris Lee, owners of property at 106 Oak Lane, tax number 138.05-1-9, for a certificate of appropriateness to construct a 335 square foot addition. And who is here to speak on that?
We have a few people here, Jerry, and we're going to start letting them in. We have, I think, Robert Burke,
Yes, here.
Hennessy,
Yep.
and Chris Lee.
I'm
Okay.
here. Can you hear me? This is Chris Hennessy.
Yep,
Yep.
and I just let me make sure we got one. Give me a second.
Yep.
I think
Hello,
we got
it's
him.
Karen.
Okay, good. There we go.
Ah.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, who would like to start off? And if whoever it is, please state your name for the record.
My name is Chris Hennessy. I'm the architect working on the project with Cheris Lee.
Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And Robert Burke. So my client would like to construct an addition to their home to enlarge their kitchen and to also connect the existing family room, which is off the back part of the house before the garage. So it's a wing off the back of the house. And right now the family room is all by itself with only one way to get into there, as well as there's only one way to get into the kitchen. They're totally separated from each other. So my clients would like to connect those two spaces and put an addition on the rear of their house. Oh, there it is.
Okay. Let's see, anyone else to speak? I know John had some questions and some suggestions before at our last meeting, and also I think contacted Ms. Hennessy about some of his suggestions. So John, do you want to step in, or
Well, yeah, I'll be happy to
Chris, whatever, who?
sort of review the thinking that that I had. First, I want to say I have no problem with the program that you're suggesting. I think it's good for the house to have a larger kitchen and good for the family room to be more open to everything. So the reason for what you're trying to do is, I think, going to be very good for the house. What I found difficult was taking that program and trying to force an architect to work on it when you have such a difficult, for such a modest thing, such a difficult task to try to make it work with the existing building and the style of the house. I think the aspect that I was that I found most challenging was the proposal to put was how to make the roofs work with one another in some way. I'm not sure that I even see a way that it can work very easily. But this style of house, it's very difficult to have a low sloped roof on a house that has this style. But then, because of the layout of the house and the roofs that are there, the way they interact with the addition that was originally put on the house very, very early makes it very difficult to come up with something. So there were two ways that seemed like they might work a little easier. And one was to create a parapet, and another was to carry a mansard around. They both revolved around creating a flat roof portion while having roofs or canopies that were more consistent with the style of the house. The other thing that I thought was going to be problematic for you was if you tried to make the addition flush with the existing wall of the kitchen, primarily because getting plaster to match at a new joint was going to be very difficult on that. So I think that having some sort of recess, as is now shown, is going to be useful for a number of reasons. And so you've provided information about the windows, you provided information about the doors, that I think are very good. I'm so what I'm feeling is that, at least plan wise and certain and the doors and the windows, I have no problem with those. And in looking at the addition, I'm sort of torn between, even though I think that it was something that is worth considering, is that I might prefer stucco on the addition to the board siding, but they're both appropriate for the house. And then I would be satisfied with either the parapet as you have it indicated, or with a steeper slope mansard that went around everything. But so those are my comments at the moment. I am pleased to see a solution that doesn't have the low sloped roofs incorporated.
Agreed. And I think that the flat roof maybe is a little better, just so that we don't block any windows on the second floor.
Right. Well, that's part of the geometry
Yeah.
trying to work out that made it so tricky.
Mm-hmm.
What, I don't know, this may be stated somewhere, I didn't see it, but what, are you going to use a rubber membrane on the roof?
Yes.
Okay. One thing that I mentioned to John is living in an old house myself. I don't know how much insulation is on the upper roofs, but I think you're going to end up with probably some snow dump on the flat roof from above.
For
And
sure.
I would plan on integrating some ice melting cables
Okay.
on the upper gutters, and also extending from the flat roof into the scuppers and down the downspouts. We have a flat roof over our family room that was added in the 80s, and the roof itself is fine, but we felt we ended up needing ice cables for the two scuppers on the flat roof and down the downspouts. So as part of this, you might want to consider an exterior receptacle located somewhere near the flat roof.
Mhm.
You could plug in the cables,
Okay,
and preferably with a switch inside.
yes.
Okay. And as far as the boards go, I tend to agree with John. I mean, stucco would be nice, but this way you don't have to worry about matching the stucco.
Right. And that whole,
At least in that location.
the entire elevation right now is the vertical wood siding.
Okay. And that would be what kind of material? Are you talking about a V joint or just a flush joint, tongue and groove type?
I think it's a tongue and groove type.
And that would be cedar?
Yes.
Okay.
I presume your intent is to match the siding in there and that's there in terms of dimension and
Correct.
and detail and whatever color everything ends up.
Definitely. Yes.
Hey, Jerry, one of my comments is that I almost tend to think that it's easier using those, that vertical wood. It just seems like that's an easier match, I would think, than maybe going after a match on that stucco,
Yes. Yeah.
you know? And if you get a mismatch on that stucco, I mean, that could look really, really off. I'll tell you though, I do want to just maybe say that this is a good design. This is a tough project. So yeah, kudos to figuring all of this out.
Well, and I was going to say, finding someone to do the siding is going to be easier than finding people to do the stucco. A lot of my associates are either at or nearing retirement age, and stucco is tricky, very tricky. So I think stucco would have been nice, but I think the wood will be fine.
Mhm.
I was going to say the same thing that Jerry did about problem with snow and ice on the flat roof. But the heating coils would resolve that.
Yeah.
Who else to speak?
I have a question about the door swing on the on the man door.
Okay.
Are we opening against the wall?
Oh,
It's opening inward, isn't it?
well, yeah, for sure. It's opening inward.
Okay, all right, got it.
Yeah. Was that the question?
Yes, that was my question.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
John?
I don't have any other comments.
Okay. Anyone else?
If I might, it's Karis. We are actually thinking of doing some stucco, just that's been sort of eaten away by some of the ivy. Do you have any recommendations for someone who might be able to help with that?
Maybe.
Okay.
Why don't you email
Okay.
John? I don't know if John has it. Jim Keene was very good. He's retired, but there is a stucco person. Hang on just a sec.
Oh, it's okay. I can email later
No,
if it's trouble.
I just wanted to my perfectly tidy desk. I found it.
That's why you don't clean up the desk, Jerry. Once you clean it up, you can't find anything.
And the only reason I wanted to mention this is in case anyone else has heard that he's retired. But he's done work for us and a few other people.
Jerry, I was also just going to mention to Karis, if she wanted to get in touch with the Landmark Society, we probably have some plaster contractors as well.
That sounds great. Thank you.
You are members, aren't you? Oh, no. Well, if you're not, you should be. Okay. Oh, Mike Doobie. Doobie used to refer to something else, but Mike is good. He's done some work for us. We had some repairs to do, or some alterations on our kitchen wing and also on the garage. And Mike is very good. His number is 315-1640.
Perfect. Thank you.
And there may be some others, but I'd want to consult with Landmark because, like I said, they're either dead or retired.
Okay.
Very, very unthoughtful of them. Okay, anyone else with questions, concerns? Just out of curiosity, when do you plan to get started?
Rob,
We had planned to get started in June. So last June.
Oh,
So yeah, so I'm not sure.
so maybe
This
soon,
one.
right?
As soon as
Yeah,
somebody
yeah.
comes available, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, if
Barry,
there's
just want to make sure before ask if anyone wants to speak on the matter.
yes, anyone that's not online right now?
If you could raise your hand.
I guess not. The public hearings are now closed.
Well, we
Ken?
have another public hearing.
Oh, this public hearing is closed. Do you want to vote on this one first? Ken?
Thank you, Jerry. I have a question for the board as to its pleasure with this resolution. It seems as if there's been some revisions made since the original application was filed. I have in the materials that were provided to me a set of drawings by CKH Architecture. Those drawings are dated November 2020. The revision date in the box is April of 2017 is revision number 1. That seems wrong to me.
that's wrong. It probably was just on the template. So ignore that.
So I'm going to, in this resolution, refer to CKH Architecture drawings and elevations dated November of 2020
Yes.
and make sure that the project is done in conformance with those. Are there any other conditions that you would want me to include in the resolution? I thought perhaps I would specific reference to the Heartwood door detail drawings as well.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, board? This is not for you, Ms. Hennessy. This is for the
Oh, okay. Perfect.
Does the plan change at all?
No, just that step in from the existing exterior wall of the kitchen.
Right now, we closed the hearing. There can't be any further dialogue. We're in
Right.
the
So
position of
I'm
making-
asking for
I'm
clarification.
sorry,
just from the
if we
board.
could,
We can have dialogue, Ramsey, between the board
Yes.
members, sir.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. So that's my query is to the board members, if there's any other conditions you want to see included in this resolution, other than the standard conditions we have to complete the project, et cetera.
I believe that the new application with the revised drawings and the product data that they submitted are pretty much sufficient for what we need.
Okay, I thought so as well, John. I just wanted to check, and because sometimes I miss some of the technical details that you guys know.
No, we do have, there were the door and windows submitted. Which
Ramsey, I'm sorry, I missed that.
we did get, the last drawings we got are the windows and doors.
The Heartwood door
Yes. that's
drawings,
right.
how are they?
Yes.
They windows and doors, I'm sorry, door and window detail, window and door detail. Okay. Okay,
But yeah,
I'll make note of that.
I think that those are the doors, and I believe if I
the
understand
French doors, yeah.
correctly, that the windows are basically salvaged as stated on the
All right, so they are just the
recent
door details,
drawings.
Yes, sorry.
just the door details. All right, very good. Okay, Jerry, I have a proposed resolution. Whereas application number 10H01-20 has been submitted for a certificate of appropriateness under the town's historic preservation law for improvement to property located at 106 Oak Lane, owned by Karis Lee and Robert Burke, to perform work described as a 335 square foot addition to the rear of the home. And whereas the Historic Preservation Commission duly called a public hearing to consider the matter on November 19th, 2020. And whereas the necessary legal notice was published and the required sign posted pursuant to town code. And whereas the public hearing was held and all persons having an interest in such matter having had an opportunity to be heard therein. And whereas the Historic Preservation Commission hereby determines pursuant to the factors set forth in section 224-5 of the town code, that the proposed above described work to the subject property is consistent with the purposes of the town's historic preservation law and compatible with the property's historic character based upon its review of the application and documents on file and received at the public hearing and the testimony presented at the public hearing. Now it is hereby resolved that the Historic Preservation Commission hereby receives and files the above described application and all of the supporting materials. And it is further resolved that the Historic Preservation Commission approves application number 10H-01-20 for a certificate of appropriateness for the above described work to be performed on the property located at 106 Oak Lane, subject to the condition that the above described work be performed and be completed consistent with the revised drawings and elevations provided by CKH Architecture dated November 2020 and the door details on the Heartwood door drawings. And subject further to the condition that the above described work be completed within 1 year from the date of approval. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chapter 224 of the Town Code, the above described work qualifies for the exemptions set forth in New York Real Property Tax Law, Section 444-A.
Ken, just a point of order. Given the current COVID issues and so forth, are we able to extend that deadline for completing the project maybe beyond a year, like 18 months or so? Or is that something that we have to seek relief elsewhere?
Ramsey, if you know,
I think there's a way of doing it, Jerry. I'm just not sure what the process would be.
You can
Okay,
ask for an extension because we did. We asked for
Yeah.
an extension, you get a
I
letter.
just don't know what the process is right now. There
Okay.
needs to be a way. And just say if there wasn't, then we just take everything we have right now and just redo it again.
okay.
But let's hopefully that's not going to be the case.
Okay, yes, let's hope. I just thought, since I can't get white chili mix, might be some
Yeah,
problems.
there's a unless renewed on application, so they can renew it. And there's no limit to the renewals.
Okay, very good. Would someone like to put forth the motion, please?
I will make that motion.
Thank you, John. Second,
Motion Page,
Jerry,
I'll
I'll second. Oh, Amanda,
Amanda, did I hear?
Yes, I'll second.
thank you, Amanda.
Burr. Second. I'm going to call the vote. Ludwig,
Yes,
Robertson,
Yes,
Goodman,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Greer.
Yes.
Motion passes. Approved with conditions.
Like to thank the applicant and their architect for doing all this good work and coming in and meeting with us. Thank you.
Thank
And,
you.
please let us know if there's anything we can do to help you.
Looks like a fine
Sure, no
project.
problem.
Be anxious to see it come to fruition.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris.
Chris,
Thank you all. Okay, next on the list is certificate of appropriateness. 11-H-01-20, application of Jonathan and Diana Robertson Berkner, owners of property at 407 Edgewood Drive, tax number 150.06-5-16, for a certificate of appropriateness to install solar panels on the south side of the house.
I think we just gonna let Michael in. There he is.
Hello.
Hi, Michael.
Michael, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Glad you got the email.
Yes.
Okay, Diana, I guess you have the floor.
Diana, you're gonna recuse yourself, right? Abstain?
Yes, of course.
Just to be clear, let me just, normally what we would, normally what we would have happen here is that Diana would step down from the front table and go over to the podium and present from the podium, making it clear that she is not participating in the discussion, debate, or decision relative to her application for a certificate of appropriateness. However, given that we're on this Zoom platform and all just sort of spread across, it's understood that Diana is not participating here as a commission or board member, that she is only presenting as a homeowner with an application before the board, just like anyone. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead, Diana.
Thank you, Ken, for doing that.
I got it. Well, we met Mike's father a while ago, and I'm not sure what triggered it. It's something we always had talked about, and I actually thought the cost was much more prohibitive. Finally, Mike came over and his dad, and it seems like we have a perfect roof side. It's situated properly and sufficiently, and you really can't see it. I drove up and down the street. Really, I was worried about it being.
Diana, you muted yourself somehow, so unmute yourself, please.
I did now?
Yes, there you go.
Okay. I tried to take a picture of it going down the street, but I actually couldn't because I really couldn't see it between the trees. So the only place you'll see it is you're standing right in our front yard looking at it.
So Diana, you have skylights in the roof, is that right?
In the new addition.
Where the solar panels are going, is it the same roof?
No. So I sent you some photographs. I put some photographs in the application. Right there. Well, that's not a photograph, but that's where they go. So it's very simple. They just have a big rectangle, no fussy stuff.
Yeah, Ramsey, you can see the skylights in a different roof there.
Yeah, I do see them now, John.
Okay.
I got it now.
Yeah, that's a very good drawing to understand what's being proposed. Thank
Yeah.
you.
But if you, if there's a way you could just show the roof plane. There you go. All right.
So the 3 skylights are in the new addition, and the 2 little skylights we did almost before we moved, right away when we moved in. So we weren't historic then. anyways, the price is actually quite reasonable. There's big credits. There's a New York State credit and a federal credit. Our roofer's already re-roofed that side of the roof a few weeks ago. So we're all set.
Michael, you were aware of the town solar energy system law?
Not necessarily.
You should, because you're going to need to meet those requirements in order to get a building permit.
Are they different from the New York State requirements?
Should review those. That I have not analyzed. I haven't looked at the 2020 code.
Ramsey, I believe I spoke to Tracy, and she was of the opinion that she had everything she needed for the building permit except this motion tonight.
Yeah, but it's not that meets code. She's just saying you gave me drawings and an application. She did not review for code compliance.
Is that the section?
What's that?
Is that the section about the solar stuff that's in the code?
Yes.
I read that, and it does comply. I can say it complies.
Okay.
But
I just want to make sure someone was aware of what the town code was saying.
I put that in
process.
I actually put those pages in the application too. There are 3 or 4, 5 pages of the code. I think I did. I guess I didn't. There's something. No, there's something.
The person that's installing it, Diane. It's important that they know the code.
Okay, there's something wrong here. This is not. Go down a little bit. I think this is a previous submittal because Jonathan was not supposed to be the signer of this application. I put in an application, I sent it to Ramsey, and he gave me a couple of ideas and I resubmitted it.
To me or to Gretchen?
I probably put both of you on the email address. I can. Because I had included photographs and also the building code pages. Let me see if I can find it. I don't know if I can find it right away. Let me see. I have a paper copy and I threw all the rest of them away, so.
Well, I mean,
14 pages
right now. I just want to make sure we're understanding what the code is.
Right, but I'm just saying this isn't the application that you're supposed to be looking at.
Is there anything in this application that's incorrect, Diana? I mean, you're going to put panels on the roof roughly as they're shown there. We've seen product data on what the panels look like. Our approval for this would not have any effect on the building code issue. That's a separate issue. The building code is not gonna, if the building code substantially changed what you proposed, then you'd have to come back.
Ramsey, actually,
Yes.
can I speak to John's point that he just made? Because I'm struggling a little bit on this. And I'm sorry that we didn't get a chance to talk about this offline before and outside the context of this public hearing, but I think we need to have this conversation now before we go too far. Our local code has specific criteria for the ARB to consider when looking at a solar panel installation. There's like 8 or 9 criteria that needs to be reviewed by the ARB in reviewing one of these. I assume that given that this is a historic home, the ARB is not going to get to see this set of drawings, and therefore, do those obligations fall on the Historic Preservation Commission? Are we now effectively the ARB for purposes of the solar panel law? and again, I'm sorry that I'm throwing this at you, and maybe I should have the answer to that, but I'm sort of thinking out loud here. So what I'm specifically referring to is section 207-48C, ARB guideline.
Did you read 2748?
207-48C.
Just 48, the installation on a town landmark?
207-48C, as in Charlie.
I'm holding it up for you.
But what I'm saying, Ken, it's clear in the code that they're supposed to be in front of the Historical Preservation Commission. I'm not sure what the,
Right. So what I'm saying is, I think we need to be considering what John just said is, the code is the code, and that doesn't really affect what we're doing here tonight. I think it does. I think our.
I'm sorry, Ken, I thought you were saying it wasn't supposed to be here.
Oh, no, it's definitely.
No, there's a building code and they have to meet the building code. But in order for us to issue a building permit, they also have to meet the zoning code. And the zoning code, which is part of the
I'm
zoning
sorry,
code.
Ramsey, maybe I'm not explaining this clearly. So typically when we, let's start from scratch. Typically when we're considering a certificate of appropriateness, the sole issue that we're considering is whether a improvement project is consistent with the historic character of the property. What I believe the solar energy systems local law provides is that in addition to that normal criteria that we must consider as the Historic Preservation Commission, we are also supposed to consider the 8 items listed at 207-48C in determining whether this particular project is a project that should be approved. So I think there are additional criteria that we must look at. I don't know, I haven't reviewed the application to see if these particular criteria are even articulated in the application to allow this board to make those determinations. But I'm making my point because John just said, we don't need to worry about the code. I think we do in this context because the code says we do. Is that clear what I'm saying?
I just have to repeat, this is not this is not the application. This was a few weeks earlier. So I don't know if we're looking at.
I'm not talking about the specific application right now, Diana, and I'm really
Okay.
addressing this to the board, and you are not the board in this case.
Sorry.
And I'm addressing this to Ramsey and the board. I'm asking the board if you understand the additional criteria, if you're familiar with those additional criteria, if you are prepared to review those additional criteria. Would you like me to review those with you? I mean, it would seem to me that if you're going to have to consider those additional criteria during this public hearing, which is still open and ongoing, we would want to make sure that we give the applicant an opportunity to address each and every one of those criteria. Ramsey, am I at least making sense?
I would recommend to the board that the criteria of the code is being met by this application. The town attorney's asking, does the application meet the criteria of the findings and the guidelines that are outlined in 207-48C that this board is required to look at and meet? And there's a number of them. And I believe in looking at these codes and reviewing the plans, that criteria is being met and the guidelines are being met. And they're
Yes.
very basic, very straightforward. It's about not blocking vents. That's why I was asking about the windows.
I'm sorry, Ramsey, can you give us the section again?
Yes, it's 207-48C of the comprehensive development regulations.
It does seem like there might be an issue with Ramsey, when you were talking about the application does meet the criteria of the code, do you have the application, the updated one that Diana submitted?
No,
Or
there
are
are a
you
number of applications and a number of things the department received. They all seem to be the same. I'm looking at what at least I have in the folder. I
Okay.
don't know exactly what got posted and what Brent is able to show, but they're very similar. What was added was a picture of the house and then sections of the code. The drawings about where the arrays were going to be located are included in the application. And then and attached in that application is the local law. And looking at the other stuff that we have in it, it's all seems to be pretty much the same.
I mean, I'm just looking at them now, and they do seem to be pretty straightforward, but
So
I
Julie,
don't know the comfort of the rest of the board. I mean, can everyone look at them? Can we take a few minutes to make sure we could go over them?
why don't we go through them one by one? It won't take that long, and that way we can know that we did our job.
Okay, Ken, do you have it in front of you?
I do.
Okay, why don't you proceed then, please?
Number one is the slope and proportions of a roof-mounted solar array should match the slope and proportions of the roof. The distance from the roof surface should be minimized.
Okay. Michael,
Yes. The modules, they run parallel with the slope of the roof, and they sit about 3 inches above the roof surface.
is it uniform?
Yes.
Okay,
Number two, solar arrays should be installed in a regular shape, usually rectangular, but using other geometric shapes where appropriate, such as to match hip or mansard roofs.
I'd say we're good there.
Yep. Number three, single arrays of panels are preferred, but multiple panel arrays may be used where deemed appropriate.
Well, this looks like a single array to me.
Yep. Number four, interruptions of the array with rooftop projections such as vents or skylights should be avoided if feasible. Doesn't seem like that's a problem.
No,
All right, number five, frame, panel, and equipment colors should match or complement the colors of the roof or wall where mounted, while maintaining the functional integrity and viability of the system.
Michael, what is the framing around the panels?
The frame is anodized, black anodized aluminum. The back sheets of the modules are black, and the solar cells themselves are also black. So the module and the racking as well is also black that the modules are attached to, that attach to the roof. So the entire visible system is black to match the color of the shingles.
Shingles are dark gray, is that right? Or are they black?
I'm not exactly sure of the most recent. They were dark gray when I was there, but they've been since shingled over since then.
Diana, what's the latest?
Yeah, they pretty much match the color of the existing, but they're the architectural instead of the plain.
Okay, so that sounds like that's in order.
Yep.
Yep. Number six, durable, non-reflective factory applied coatings should be used.
Michael?
Anodized is good.
That was John, right?
Yeah, that was John.
Number seven, text, advertising, and or logos should not be visible.
There's no text or advertising or logos on the array.
And number 8, the visibility of equipment, conduits, pipes, transformers, etc., should be minimized. Where visible, the conduit should be painted to match the background color.
So our method of installation is the utilization of a device called a solar deck. It is a fully flashed, watertight penetration through the roof, and then we run our conduit through the attic. And in the case of this application, there is a clear path from the attic to the basement inside the house. So there will be no exterior conduit, with the exception of the National Electric Code requires a disconnect at the point of service entry, which is a small 3-inch by 5-inch. It's basically a similar disconnect that would be used in a hot tub application. And that would be located at the service entrance, and that would be the only, aside from the array, that would be the only electrical equipment that's visible outside.
By the service entrance, you mean the service entrance of the electrical?
Correct.
Okay. Well, that sounds okay.
Those are all criteria.
Okay, I'd say it meets it.
I agree.
Thank you for letting me run through those with you.
Well, good exercise. It's the first time I think we've, as a group, we've heard the criteria. So thank you, Ken.
News to us.
Could I ask a question of Diana or Michael? Could one of you tell me from a compass direction, what roof are we looking at here?
South.
It's the south roof of the main house, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So
I just want that for the resolution. Thanks.
South gable.
South, yes, exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
South.
There you go. That's the word.
Any other questions?
Anyone to speak on the application, Jerry?
Pardon me?
If there's anyone to speak on the application?
Is there anyone? Please raise your hand. We'll zoom you in. I guess not. Then the public hearing is closed. Ken, would you read the motion, please?
Sure. Whereas application number 11H-01-20 has been submitted for a certificate of appropriateness under the town's historic preservation law for improvement to property located at 407 Edgewood Avenue, owned by Diana Robinson, to perform work described as the installation of solar panels on the south gable of the roof of the main house. And whereas the Historic Preservation Commission duly called a public hearing to consider the matter on November 19th, 2020, and whereas the necessary legal notice was published and the required sign posted pursuant to town code, and whereas the public hearing was held and all persons having an interest in such matter having had an opportunity to be heard therein, and whereas the Historic Preservation Commission hereby determines, pursuant to the factors set forth in 224-5 of the town code, that the proposed above described work to the subject property is consistent with the purposes of the town's historic preservation law and compatible with the property's historic character, and further determines that the proposed installation of solar panels on the south gable of the roof of the main house meets the criteria set forth in Town Code Section 207-48C. Upon its review of the application and the documents on file with the town and received at the public hearing and the testimony presented at the public hearing, it is hereby now resolved that the Historic Preservation Commission hereby receives and files the above described application and all supporting material. And it is further resolved that the Historic Preservation Commission hereby approves application number 11H-01-20 for a certificate of appropriateness for the above described work to be performed at the property located at 407 Edgewood Avenue, subject to the condition that the above described work be completed within 1 year from the date of approval. And be it further resolved that pursuant to Chapter 224 of the Town Code, the above described work qualifies for the exemptions set forth in New York Real Property Tax Law, Section 444-A.
Thank you, Ken. Would someone like to put forth the motion?
I would.
Thank you, David.
Whitaker?
A second, please.
I'll second.
That's
Thank you, John.
Paige.
Any discussion?
This looks like a nice system.
I'm envious. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to discuss that.
Ramsey, would you call the vote?
I will. Ludwig,
Yes.
Robertson, nope. Goodman,
Yes.
Whitaker,
Yes.
Page,
Yes.
Greer,
Yes.
motion passes. Approved with
And
two
just to
D-
clarify for the record, for transcription purposes, while member Robinson's name was called and it was immediately followed by Ramsey saying no, member Robinson was not voting on this matter and did not vote in any way yes or no with respect to this proposal.
Very good. No hardship applications. Public hearings are now closed. Any new business? Any old business that we haven't talked about? Presentations, announcements, concerns of the church? Motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
I'll second. Okay,
Aye.
bye.
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Have a
Thanks,
quiet-
everyone.
Quiet, private
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Everyone, thank
Thanksgiving.
Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Thank you, Michael. Thanks,
Right,
everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Night.